Hey, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Nida. I'm the Director of Research and Education at Smile Canada Support Services, and this is my story. So it was my final year at U of T Scarborough campus, studying psychology. There was a running joke at that time because I had trouble hearing. So I would be in class and my friend would ask me a question about what the prof would say, and I would have no idea that they even were talking to me. Or I would be at home and my mom, which she thinks I did this on purpose, but she'd be calling me to, wash the dishes or do something around the house, and I wouldn't hear her. So at first I thought, probably just need to get my ears cleaned. I was working as a receptionist at a walk-in clinic at that time. So I went there, got my ears checked and cleaned, but unfortunately I still couldn't hear. So the doctor there was very much like, I don't see anything, but it's probably best you go to a specialist and get it checked out. It's not a quick thing, it's quite a long process. And so it was a few months until I actually spoke with someone. And at that time when we spoke, and they did a whole bunch of tests, we found out it was actually a bigger issue than we thought it was. And I was diagnosed with neurofibromatosis type 2. I had an acoustic neuroma, so a tumor by my hearing nerve that was damaging it. And it was at a size where only surgery was the option in order to remove it. NF2 also has very limited treatment options. It is a pretty rare genetic disorder. And so whether it's surgery or radiation, there's not really anything else you can do. And they were like, you need to go into the operating room as soon as possible. You can't finish your school, you have to drop out. This is the number one priority right now. So when I was first diagnosed, I mentioned that I wasn't really taking in my condition because I was so focused on I need to graduate. I'm 21. I have so many things I want to do in my life. I still need to get a job. I want to get married, have kids, all of this stuff. And I would think that you need to do these things at a certain time in your life. But as I got older and my condition only got worse, especially the past few years, it was really hard. It's been really hard for me to accept and kind of let go of that timeline and kind of just accept this is your life and there are challenges because of your diagnosis, but also because of how society is, whether it's stigma or attitudinal barriers or whether it's, just daily living or going outside and trying to engage in social events. It's not going to be the same for you anymore. And one of the big things that made me realize that was when my facial nerve was damaged. And so your hearing nerve is close to your facial nerve. They're together. It's not going to be a biology lesson by any means, but it was damaged. And because of that, I had facial paralysis, or I do have facial paralysis on the left side of my face. I think being also young, but I think it would affect anyone. Like, oh my goodness, my face doesn't work the same. I can't smile as I'm a very jolly, friendly person who loves to joke around and laugh. I can't laugh. I can't smile, can't laugh. And to be honest, I wasn't smiling or laughing for at least a year because I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to go outside. I was embarrassed to some degree. My self-esteem was also very, very low. And I just I wasn't happy with my situation. And then the past year, with a lot of pain and just different surgeries happening again, it really made me feel like, okay, this is debilitating. This is just going to get worse and not better. And that also impacted me mentally quite a bit, that I had severe anxiety and depression. And so getting through that was very challenging as well. How did I cope? I think my faith plays such a huge and important part. And so when this diagnosis came in, it just threw my timeline out the window. And there's a verse that we always hear as Muslims, you know, they plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. And I think what also helped in coping with what I was going through is my family and my support, because through prayer, we all came together. During one of my surgeries last year, no one was able to come and visit me. And mashallah, I have such a big family. They always like try to come, especially in the hospital. But this time they weren't able to. And it just so happened that my surgery happened during Ramadan. And everyone's always busy during that time. But, you know, I obviously wasn't fasting. My parents were. So for them, it was more challenging as well to have to come and visit when they could for a specific amount of time while fasting and partaking in religious activity, and then also going to work and doing certain things. So on Eid, I was very sad because I wasn't able to celebrate Eid with family, which, you know, so many of us can do, and something that I also, alhamdulillah, am used to in my own life. But this time I spent it in the hospital, and only my mom could come and visit. So I remember this Eid specifically, I got a call from my sister, and she's like, go to your hospital window. And so I went to my hospital window, and my family was outside just like waving, shouting Eid Mubarak, had like balloons in their hands. And then they called, and I spoke with everyone over the phone. So although they couldn't physically be there in the room with me, I couldn't be at home celebrating with them, I was still in their mind, they were still in mine, and they tried to make the day as special as they could. When I first started at Smile, I was a service navigator. So I helped connect families to resources within the communities, whether that's advocating for support in schools for their children, or with doctors when they go to doctor's appointments, or connecting them with other healthcare professionals to help get their children the rehabilitative services or the therapy that they need. I learned quite a lot talking directly to families. I mentioned, you know, I faced some challenges with my own healthcare journey. Our families face so much more. Whether that's language and communication barriers, or stigma in the community about disability, or places not being inclusive or accessible, so families feel left out and don't have that support. I learned and continue to learn the things that we all need to change on a community level, on a societal level, and also on an individual level. Well, there's so many things. Our families are some of the best people I've ever met in my life. I think it's very easy to kind of see a family, a child go through such hardship, so many challenges, and think, wow, they're so strong and they're so resilient for having faced all of that, and come out stronger because of it. But I think sometimes when we focus too much on the positive qualities that come, and though they're not wrong, it kind of takes away from the changes that need to happen, the barriers that are there, and how we need to be agents of change and sort of removing or mitigating those barriers so that families don't need to face that, so that they don't need to be resilient. I feel like being resilient, being strong, our families don't have the luxury to be anything else. When you're going through something so devastating and heartbreaking, your mental, emotional, physical support is so extremely important and makes such a difference in making you feel better and helping you get through day by day, and just having that motivation to tackle life again and try to have some goals again and try to achieve them. And so if it wasn't for my village, for everyone that I have and the supports that I put in place for myself, I probably wouldn't be sitting here and having this documentary. I wouldn't be able to talk to anyone. I would probably be isolated and be by myself. And working at Smile, I realized that village is just as important to everyone, to so many families, to their children. And I'm so grateful for my village. And I think it's important to know and understand and recognize, how can we be people who strengthen other people's villages as well and be there for them when they need it the most.